Welcome to the Racket, silencing the noise in your business. I'm Pam Foley.
And I'm Paige Wiese.
Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us. Today's topic is why we're doing the show and getting to know the co-host. And I'm Pam Foley and
I'm Paige Wiese.
And we are here to talk to you about everything about your business. That's why silencing the noise in your business, because being entrepreneurs is chaotic and noisy and busy, and you wear a lot of hats, and we can't wait to talk about everything about owning a business.
There's so many things, and it's so hard to get pulled in so many different directions as a business owner and an entrepreneur of, I need to handle this, I need to handle that, and there's just so much chaos, so we really want to make sure we silence some of that racket going on in there.
Yes, we do, Paige. And the very first thing I think we should talk about is entrepreneurialism. And that's even hard to say. Even I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I know you've been for a long time too.
Well, yeah.
And even just saying it, I trip on the word because it means so many things to so many different people.
I know you and I were talking offline about kind of how we felt that it meant different things to each of us, and especially like where we're at in our business. So what is the definition for entrepreneur?
Oh, Paige, good question. I have my computer here, so while you were doing stuff, I Googled entrepreneur because thanks Google for existing. Anyhow, the dictionary says entrepreneur, a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, they've heard of me, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do something. And synonyms are businessman, businesswoman, enterpriser, speculator, I like this one, tycoon, magnate, and mogul.
I'm going to start calling myself a tycoon instead.
I like tycoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of different meanings for entrepreneur. Paige is right. We were talking about it offline because I'm a solopreneur and I've been a mompreneur, which I think is funny, but it's kind of true.
It's really trending right now, the mompreneurs.
It really is. And to me, that meant that I started my business, one of my businesses, when my kids were little. And I was balancing working and the school day, and that was a huge thing for me, and I had to learn to work around that. I'm not a mompreneur anymore. Now I'm more of what I would call a solopreneur, which means I work for myself, but I don't have any employees. Anybody that I work with would be a contractor in my business. And we'll talk about my business in a minute. But Paige, how do you see yourself in the entrepreneurial world?
Let's see, is an unemployedpreneur a way to start? That's how I started. It was more on the unemployment route, and with the economy and everything going on. And I think would say, transitioned into entrepreneur, starting my own business, doing my own thing, and then from there, though, we were talking, I sometimes don't know if I really had considered myself still an entrepreneur, because I have a team that works under me, I've got a full business going, I'm not really trying to do, kind of the one thing day in and day out. There's a whole bunch of us that make it happen instead of just me. But according to the definition, absolutely. And I think the biggest piece to take out of the entrepreneur definition is that financial burden and taking on greater than normal financial risks, because I think so many of us do that when we start our own business. Not so many, everybody does that. When we start our own business is taking on that financial burden, and it can set some people back right off the bat. And
in fact, I read that the average business owner spends $40,000 the first year in business trying to make it go.
And how many of those actually make $40,000 back in their first year of business?
They have to take loans and go into credit card debt, because $40,000 is the average. So that means that there are plenty of people spending a lot more.
That's crazy. And I don't know if you really sit down and try and add all of that up. And so kind of the end of the year where you maybe see that credit card bill come through, or you see what type of burden or end of the year statements, but it's definitely a financial risk there for sure right off the bat.
Yeah, so I thought that was a great part about the entrepreneurial definition in the dictionary, because it's true that you spend a lot of money, but I never thought about that was the official definition.
Absolutely. And I think, for me too, I have kind of that entrepreneur mindset because I know that there's always other things that we can be working on. So maybe it is a side business or just a side thing, or just how do we keep staying busy and getting into more than just that one business that we're running? I know I've thrown my head into a few different businesses as well along the way, just to kind of see, can we make this work as well?
Yeah, and I think that we're going to talk a little bit about side gigs and the gig economy generally. And really, entrepreneurialism is about being a business owner and wearing all of those different hats, and then someday getting to be a mogul or a tycoon.
A tycoon. Well, I think that really brings us into why are we doing the show? Why did we come up with the Racket, and what is our whole goal and mission behind it?
Yes, and the two of us got together because we were both entrepreneurs on some level and coming at it from two different angles, but also so many differences and so many similarities really made us want to help people. And I would say women business owners generally, because women business owners, the whole realm of that is increasing so much. And we were looking at it earlier with my friend Google, and more than 50%, actually significantly more than 50% of new businesses are being started by women, and they're growing. And people starting businesses generally are a huge part of the economy right now. And Paige and I have both been in business for a while. I've had a couple different businesses that were pretty successful. Paige has had her business that she's stayed with and has grown. And we want to help people learn from our mistakes, because I think between the two of us, we've made them all.
I think that's the important piece, is that we're both at different spots. Also, like you mentioned, you're doing a lot more of the solopreneur, wearing many hats, and so there's a side that you offer to this, and then I am also coming at it from having employees, having contractors, handling multiple different things going on while still trying to wear all the hats of the business. And so I think between our expertise and our experience together, it allows us to help other women business owners get through some of the day-to-days and figure out how to sort through this, and let others know too that they're not the only one going through that struggle or that particular thing at the moment. Others are going through it with them, and so kind of giving them a sounding board and some hope that there are ways to get around it.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that's really important to note when we decided to start this is not only are we in different places in our business, but we're in different places in our career, in our lives. I'm definitely a Gen Xer. I've been in business for a long time in different careers, and I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. But Paige comes at it from a much younger viewpoint, and maybe more technologically, more technologically advanced.
Typically. Well, I mean, I think I spent not even 3 years in corporate, if you even want to consider it corporate, because they were both local, small-owned businesses. And so, and then from that, everything, and my background isn't in anything that I've been doing. Everything that I've done has been more self-taught. I don't have the other web designers that I can go talk to because I worked with them for years or this or that. So for me, it really comes into, this is kind of what I've been doing as a millennial since I graduated college to some extent. And so a lot of it has just been learning along the way and going as, it's been almost 10 years now that I've been going down this path, which has worked out a lot better than the architecture path.
Which is amazing, and I think a really cool story. So we'll get to mine in a minute and how more Gen Xers might have come to where I'm at. But first, let's hear a little bit about Paige's story, because it's kind of cool.
Awesome. Yeah, so I came at it from, I hated school. I didn't know what I was going to do when I grew up. I don't even know if anybody really thought I'd make it past too much of school because I struggled so hard. But I decided that I would give architecture a try. I really liked drawing, the layout, the design aspect of it, the building and the construction piece. And so I started off with architecture, and then worked for a small mom and pop firm designing homes, and got laid off about 2007.
Yeah, you weren't the only one there. Wasn't it something like 40% of employees at some point got laid off or restructured?
I'm sure.
During that time?
And that was like the weird thing for me. I know I took that as a hard blow for sure, because I was just out of college. I knew I was doing really well at my job, and I couldn't understand how I got laid off so quickly. And then on top of it, I also just raised that you work a job for 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
I definitely think right around then is, that's what people learned. That's what people knew. And so
I think that changed the reality. People understood that a corporation is not going to be there for you forever, probably.
So again, another blow was like, well, I thought I was just going to do this for the next 20 years and I was going to work my way up the ladder. I was perfectly content starting down low and working up it. And and when that hit, I know I took it very personally and had to get back on my feet and decided to take a move out to Colorado, and then decided to switch a little more into land surveying.
Oh wow, land surveying.
Yeah, a lot different. It's like not as perfect as architecture it seems when you're actually designing stuff. Land surveying is a lot more like you can be off by a little bit, but don't go too far off.
And the building won't fall down.
Yeah. So then same thing though, got laid off there and was out in Colorado now on my own. No idea what to do. Second time being laid off. I think I was maybe 22, 23 at the time.
Oh
22.
wow.
And so it was kind of this, oh, okay, what are we going to do? How's this going to work? And I can't really afford to live. So I was just like, all right, I got to make money. What am I going to do? So I decided to put some ads up on Craigslist and utilize my graphic experience. That's the one thing I had a lot of interest in since I was a kid, was playing around with computer, playing around in Photoshop, playing with fonts. So I knew a little bit about it, never really any formal graphic design or marketing training though in it. And but really started to understand, like, why is this ad working? Why is that one not working on Craigslist? Other people are getting phone calls, but I'm not getting phone calls. And really trying to understand the system as to what's working, what's not. And
I love that you were self-taught, because it really shows you that in a lot of situations with entrepreneurs, I think people worry that if they don't have the appropriate letters behind their name or certificate, they can't make it. But you're a wonderful example that you can find your passion and teach yourself, and here you are.
Well, and I mean, too, the self-taught piece, I mean, I was struggling at school, I think more just because I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. But as soon as I found that passion, I just started thriving, and it really started. And I love learning. I was like, oh, I want to learn everything I can. How do I do this? How do I do that? What's next? And so I think that's, definitely the piece that pushed me, was finding what am I passionate about and what do I enjoy. So I started doing a little bit of web design, advertising on the side. What's working? What's not? If someone else can make this work on a website, then I should be able to make it work on a website. So just kind of taking that mindset of there's a way. It's just how do we make it happen.
Jumped in. All in.
I had no choice. I was like surviving off an unemployment check and whatever additional income I could make, but I didn't have the $40,000 to invest.
Right.
So I had to utilize everything I could on Craigslist to get that free marketing. I hustled and made a lot of good connections, really focused on customer service so we'd get the referrals and the repeat business, and was able to grow it more or less that way. I figured out we were posting, I think I was posting 20 different ads a day on Craigslist and had it all timed, and I had that system down. I knew exactly how to do it to maximize that exposure, and like I said, find out how to continue beating out my competition. So every time that someone searched something, I'd show up. Who are you going to call then? The person who's showing up time and time again.
You learn to hustle, and I think that's something that entrepreneurs have to learn.
Definitely.
Is how to hustle and how to hustle effectively.
I think that's it too, is that almost all the entrepreneurs will say that hustling is one of the things that they have to do the most. But so I did that, and then from there just really listened and learned what are the hiccups, what are the frustrations that people are having and running into. So I kind of turned into do a little bit of all of it, but maybe not be an expert in all of it. So I learned how to do SEO. I learned how to do, Google AdWords and paid advertising. My generation just does a little more with social media, so I was able to pick up the social media side. So really I turned into this one-stop shop, one-person shop for everything. And as I continued growing, I was just like, I hate writing, I'm not good at it, but I also need to produce a website that has good content. So we brought on a content writer, we brought on a graphic designer, and so I kept listening and finding those needs and grew it into more of I think our team's about a dozen now.
That's amazing. And how long have you been in business?
I've owned it for almost 10 years now.
Oh wow.
So yeah, definitely though I took more of that slower approach where I didn't want to go figure out how to get an investor and get all the computers and all the staff and have to constantly be working to pay back a loan.
Right.
I wanted to learn and understand, how do the taxes work? Why am I doing this? Can I write that off or not? How does hiring work? How do I write a job description? What attracts people? What doesn't? what, everything along the way as we went. I wanted to know how. I think that's the piece that makes me the most successful right now, is that I've got a solid team that's experts in each of the areas that they're in, but I understand how the graphic design works with the marketing. I understand how SEO works with the website, so I can better educate and explain to our clients the reason we're doing certain things and understand how it works, not just selling a service and hoping somebody can implement it on the other end.
Right.
So
you are the implementer. We were talking about that a little bit
Mm-hmm.
offline, because often people get coaching or consulting and they don't know how to implement it, and really that's
Or they
what
go to
you
a lot
built
of
a business
trainings.
to do.
There's a lot of people like, oh, I'll go networking, or I'm going to go to this free seminar, or this free workshop, and all this, which is great. And they walk away and they're like, how do I do that? How do I actually implement this? Like, that was great. Or where do I find the time to do it?
Right.
I understand
overwhelming.
it. And so that's where we like to take a lot of that off their plate, is being able to actually implement it and explain to them why they're doing it. So, which kind of, brings it into so Tree Ring Digital is the company, and it's a full service digital marketing. We do website design, logo design, graphic design, search engine optimization, content writing. Really the thing that we do is we put everything together to make a business look good online and show up time and time again. So back to what I found that worked so well for me was showing up everywhere. We work with clients and work with their budget to figure out how do we get them to show up over and over and over again, so that they're the trusted source and the trusted business that people want to hire. And so we really focus on that full online presence piece of it. And so 10 years later and a lot of side hustle, here's where I'm at.
And we can't wait. In the podcast, we're really going to talk about how Paige got, during this 10 years, where she is. So learning about, did you have side hustles, and how did you decide what to teach yourself, and when to hire and how to do the foundations of business, because so many people out there are creating an entrepreneurial business and
Or
good
good money,
money by
bad
the
money.
seat of good money, bad money, and flying by the seat of their pants. And maybe sometimes it would be nice to have some information.
and trust me,
I've
I've had my ups and downs. I've had, like I mentioned, a couple other businesses that I've ventures and stuff that I've tried along the way, and
can't wait to hear about them.
yeah, so I understand how, and I just love working with the businesses and being able to take everything that I've learned over time to help them see some of the same success. Because I've learned, if you have the passion behind it and the hustle and the willingness to see it through, that you definitely can. And that's the types of clients and entrepreneurs that I like to work with, and the reason that I wanted to be able to help and give back and answer some of those questions along the way through the podcast.
I love that. And because being an entrepreneur is taking on financial risk and taking on personal risk, because it really is it's a personal thing. If you succeed, it's personal. If you fail, it's personal.
For
and
sure.
everything in between.
And it impacts your, just your personal day-to-day lives and stuff. I know that there's a lot of sacrifices I've had to make along the way to get to where I'm at. But I think for me, I'm always just keeping the ambition and the end goal in mind. And I guess too, when you're 10 years into something and haven't been laid off within the first year, it's a better path.
Yourself off.
Right, I haven't laid myself off yet, so that's a good one, and kind of the reason that I decided to go this route. But I really was more on a spot of just sink or swim. Something I know we're going to talk about later is one, just your journey too, but second, when is the right time to make that jump from working for corporate to doing this on your own? Is it a side hustle? Is it not? But for me, I really just got thrown into it. I didn't have another choice. And I just was like, hey, let's just see what we can do until we figure out what we're going to do. And it turned out this is what we're going to do, and it's been great. So
that's fantastic.
What about you, Pam? How did you get and started into what you're doing? And tell us more about what it is you do specifically now, because I know, like you mentioned, you come from a lot of different backgrounds. And
I have. So one of the things that I think is a real difference between millennials and Gen Xers, or even people older than I am, I think that a lot of people in my age group really feel like they have to be ready. And they have to be 100% prepared before they can jump into anything and before they can fully start a new business. And there's some truth to that, and there's some maybe business acumen or smarts to that. But the other truth is that it's not true. That you don't have to have all of those things, and you don't have to be perfect in order to start. but I was in that. So my own story is professionally, I was an attorney. And I went to college, obviously, and then I went to law school.
All of it, eh?
All of it. So technically, I have a doctorate. And
we'll make sure to put that after your name.
That's right. Call me doctor. And so I went to law school and came out and was working for a law firm and working hard like a lot of people do. And I've had some crazy careers behind. I've taught ceramics and worked at Starbucks. I don't even know what all. But started practicing law and was working for a firm and ended up getting laid off as well. And I got laid off for a Me Too issue. I learned the hard way that sometimes working for people is tough.
And it was so quiet back then too.
It really was. It wasn't something 10, 12 years ago that people talked about.
There was no hashtag?
There was no hashtag. There was literally no hashtag.
It was the pound sign on the phone.
It was the pound sign on the phone. And yeah, I was in the pound sign on the phone time and in a career that was very male oriented, but and ended up deciding, much like you, right? I wanted to make money. I needed to make money. Needed to make money, and had these skills and didn't want to work for somebody else again. So I ended up opening up my own law firm and hung my shingle out, as they say, and did that. And was a divorce attorney, did lots of different divorces, worked with family law cases, ended up having 3 offices and employees and lots of caseload and working a lot.
So so again, you've worn a lot of different hats with owning your own, not only your own law firm, but 3 different locations.
Yeah, so I was juggling, and in the law, I was also then juggling 3 different courthouses and 3 different counties because of the city that I lived in.
Yep.
And what the truth was is that I fell into something that a lot of entrepreneurs do. I fell into working too much and too hard, and I was making great money, but too much. And I had young kids and was missing out on things. And one of the things that I'll share with our listeners and with you, Paige, because I don't think I've ever told you, is one of the reasons that I decided to leave that entrepreneurial venture is because I had one of my children asked me one time to go on a field trip, and I was getting ready and working hard because as an entrepreneur and as a lawyer, there are a lot of hours to put in, and I said I couldn't, that I had to go to court. And she said, in the way the kids do, and not in a negative way, she said, "You've never been on one."
Oh.
And it was a real
How old
Oprah
was
life. She was probably 1st grade.
Okay.
And 2nd grade.
Where they're doing a lot of
Where
them,
they're
so.
doing a lot of field trips.
Yeah.
And I realized in that moment that I was making a choice to make money instead of being who I really wanted to be.
Which is a really hard choice as a parent, because you, one, need to be able to care for the child, and at the same time, though, you don't necessarily want to be in a career that is pulling all of the time away from the child. So you really get caught in a situation of how hard is working too hard, but at the same time you want to provide them the best life that you can.
Exactly.
And you think you're doing so because you're bringing home money, you can, put food on the table, and so you're working it all, and then you have to take that step back and go, oh.
Yeah, so I had to do a real self-analysis that I think that our listeners should do as well, and we should make that a topic in one of ours.
Absolutely.
But so I then stepped into one of our other definitions of entrepreneurialism and became a mompreneur. I can't even say it. Mamapreneur. And fell into real estate because I wanted to be a mamapreneur. All right, I'm not saying that today.
No.
Whenever it comes up, Paige, you say it. And tried to work real estate part-time, ended up obviously working it a lot. And
it's still,
it's a very involved business. Super successful in it. Again, sold about 35 homes a year. Ended up flipping houses and doing design.
And that's a tough call, though, because even as a real estate agent, you're working a lot of evenings and weekends.
Oh,
so
all evenings and weekends.
It's one of those hard, like, oh, look, I have more time working for myself, but I'm still not home when the kids are home.
Right, and so I sort of fell into, I think what a lot of entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurial fall into is I was testing things, and I had skills and I was getting certificates because, again, I'm a Gen Xer. And so I have about 8 certificates that I have
on top of your law
on
degree.
top of my law degree and my college degree. So I have a lot of letters behind my name because I was searching for what I wanted to do. But the truth is, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I knew that I wanted to do the business that I'm doing now, and actually opened it in 2014. So this will be my 5th year of having it, 4th and 5th, I'm in there. And but it was my side gig. So I did it a little bit differently because I was running a pretty successful real estate business, which is an entrepreneurial business, and I had an entrepreneurial side gig on the side. So that's a little bit of a crazy way to do it.
But for you, what we had talked about, the funding piece, or that $40,000, let's go back to.
Yes.
You at least had that real estate background to be able to pull in and work this a little bit on the side.
Yeah, to
because
get
you're
it
still making
started,
money
but
someplace, yeah.
first year still is a lot of money when you get started. So it was just at the beginning, well, sort of at the end this time last year in 2017 that I decided to go full time into my consulting business, and I now own the Art of You Consulting, and there I help people who are entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, which we're going to talk about, do really 3 things. I help them define their niche, I help them create their offerings and message, and then I help them build their brand. And building their brand means working on their confidence, their clarity, their presence, and their mindset.
Nice.
Because when you are in a position where you are strong in all of those areas, you teach people to know, like, and trust you, which means they buy from you.
Well, and it's important what you're putting out there, whether it be from a business side or whether it be from just your personal presence, really makes a difference. And I think oftentimes people overlook that and just think, oh, I'm good at what I do, they should just hire me anyway. But
build it and they will come.
Right.
And I know you see in websites that doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen when you're selling yourself either. And every entrepreneur has to sell themselves. And that's true in a lot of businesses too. Really, I help people in corporations because you have to sell yourself in order to get promotions and move up the ladder. It's not going to help you in this layoff time, but it will help you as you're growing your career.
Climbing up the ladder.
Climbing up the ladder. So my business is all about holding workshops and presentations in corporations and working with individuals. And also, one of the neat things that I found that I really had a passion for writing and for writing. So I write books. I have ebooks that I sell on Amazon, and then I also have the 2 books are called 5 Tips for Finding Your Passion Fast and 5 Ways to Increase Your Sales Income.
Nice.
They're part of the series that'll be 10. And I also have the Art of You, the definitive guide to getting your biz together. And so that will be coming out actually here in the next couple months. But I built my entrepreneurial business around what my passions were. So it's really about being an author, about being a speaker, trainer, and about being a consultant.
Well, and it sounds like too, you focus a lot of how they appear in person and on, like right there.
Yes.
And then we focus more of how does that business appear online, but kind of back to the similar concept that we both feel how you show up matters. And
how you show up matters, and it matters for the success of your business online and in person. Because I'm teaching you to sell yourself, and you're teaching me to sell online.
Absolutely, lots of online selling. You got to make that extra money, right?
Yes, but the great thing for our listeners and why we decided to do the show together was because we are coming at the businesses from 2 different levels of experience, 2 different levels of, I guess, education or letters behind your name, 2 different ages, 2 different business models.
2 different ways of going about it.
And all of the same mistakes. So both of us have had to travel the entrepreneurial journey where we decided what we're going to do, what is good money spent and what is bad money spent, how are we going to advertise, what are we going to offer.
And we're excited to work through that journey with you and share some of those pitfalls and also some of the wins that we've had along the way, and help make sure that you've got a sounding board with so much of that chaos going on in the background that we can be a way to help silence a lot of that noise going on in your business.
And fair warning, we are going to be completely transparent and let you know when we are drowning in the noise of our own businesses, because both of us are growing and scaling and moving into different directions, and there's going to be some ups and some downs and a lot of chaos and noise, and we can't wait for you to come along.
I know there's going to be a lot going on, but I'm excited to go through that journey and share it with you guys as well. Pam, when you were talking, it really brought up a great point, though, that I guess I wasn't as aware that you also had been laid off, and that's what made you start your own business, and I had been laid off, and just kind of that sink or swim mentality of...
Yeah, and in the recession, I think almost 40%, some crazy number of people got laid off at some point, so there are a lot of people out there like us.
And I think that brings up a really good point, kind of moves us into our next topic of how do you make that transition either from a full-time corporate job, or how do you decide to jump off the diving board, if you will, and start your own business? I know a lot of our listeners are going to be kind of working that side hustle where they still have the full-time job, but they're doing this on the side, or they're trying to work it on the weekends and are scared to make that dive into owning their own business and taking on all that financial risks. What types of advice would you offer them?
You know, I think that probably for a lot of people, starting their business, their passion as a side hustle is a great idea, because it does cost a lot personally and financially to start a business. In fact, I was just reading the other day, Paige, that the average business owner, the first year of business, spends $40,000 starting their business.
Oh, geez.
And a lot of us don't have $40,000, and so we go into credit card debt, or we take out loans, and that puts even more pressure. And you have to be ready for that. You have to be sure.
And I feel like that's also something that, you know, as we work with a lot of small business owners and they're getting started and they're walking through this process, and even just budgeting for marketing or budgeting to put that in, you know, the website cost in or something is really important, because yes, you can do a lot of it on your own, but you still need to know that this is going to be a financial commitment that you're making. Hence the word entrepreneur that we talked about at the beginning, is that there is a financial risk that you're taking. And I think to some extent doing that side hustle is a good way to see if it's what you want to be doing or not. You had done some with real estate and then decided maybe this isn't the right fit for me. Maybe I'd actually rather prefer to be working with business owners and consulting. And for me, mine happened to be that I took that risk but kept growing. I fell into something that just I happen to love and really, really enjoy doing.
And are good at. Yeah, and you know, really, I opened up my consulting business that I have now, as I mentioned, in 2014. And so on some level, though I didn't spend a lot of time working on it, it really was my side hustle. I was helping people because people would come to me and ask me for help. But my full-time job was real estate.
Real estate was just supporting that financial
Yes, and so I highly recommend for people to baby step into their passion, to make sure it is their passion. Because we'll do a whole episode and watch for it on finding your passion and choosing your niche. But you have to work at that and be sure. You're right. You fell into something that makes money.
But it still took a long time to develop. And, you know, I mean, when we were both unemployed at times. So how do you find the financial means to market if you're not making that money back to do so? Or how do you find, and so again, another thing that we'll talk about is the time or the investment. Which one are you wanting to put in there? And for me, I learned a lot of ways to market and make stuff happen by just putting in more of my time. It was a passion of mine. I love doing what I do. And so to me, it never really seemed like time. It was just fun. And but others are more like, I don't have that time, so I want to put the financial investment into it. So really a decision you have to decide when you're starting that business. And are you going to commit fully to it? I feel the more you commit to that, the more chances you, or likeliness you are to survive as a business.
I completely agree, and I think so often I see entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and mompreneurs that put bad money out there, and I think that we should definitely, in one of our episodes super soon, is talk about good money and bad money and where you spend that, because there are so many programs out there that are selling you all of the time on marketing, and you need this, and this is the next great tool. and all of a sudden that $40,000 is $80,000.
I had fell into that actually when I was getting started.
I think we all do.
Let's go through one of those. How do you, work from home? How do you do this? And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're thousands of dollars in debt trying to figure out how do you get out of it, and what do you do to recover that, especially when you're at a spot that you're financially struggling.
Yes, and it's recoverable. That's the good news. So it can be recovered from. I think we both have done that.
Yes.
But it's a huge risk when you're an entrepreneur, and especially when you're on your own and you have no one to bounce it off of.
Mm-hmm.
And good advertisers make everything sound good.
that is what they are getting paid to do, right?
Yes. So the question is, what do you need, and what does it take to start a business? Can you do it on the side? Can you build it up? What are the foundations
Can you take
that you
baby
need?
steps, or do you have to?
Or do you have to dive all in?
If it's product, sometimes it is all in. You have to find an investor who's going to fund that first order so that you can actually.
Right, and then that could be giving up some control of your business. There are so many questions in running a business that I think it's fantastic that we silence the noise in it, because the noise is screaming at us all of the time.
Oh, it's pulling you in so many different directions.
It really is. I know a lot of business owners feel so overwhelmed as entrepreneurs because you are alone and there are all these things out there, and it is a huge financial risk.
And that goes back to the other reason why we wanted to create this, is because we know there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are going through the day-to-day struggle on their own, but we wanted to help them based off of some of the mistakes that we've made, as well as the things that we've learned and succeeded at along the way, to offer some advice and help go through some of that and silence that noise that's going on in the background.
Absolutely, and I like numbers, Paige, and I think you've learned that, but I believe I just read that we're over 50%, I think it's like 55 or 57% of new businesses are run by women, and a huge percentage of the economy is now being run by entrepreneurs and started businesses, because we're in a world, a financial world, where you kind of have to be ready to take care of yourself. Big corporations are not forever anymore, and you have to be ready and able to work for yourself.
And we've both just learned that at different points in our life.
Yes, we have.
We can't depend on a corporation to take care of us, and we really want to go out and fend for ourselves instead.
Yes, and we want to help you along the way. So we're so excited that you're here, and we can't wait to talk to you about your business and to go through everything about running a business, because the list is long, and from, as they used to say, from soup to nuts, we're going to be there.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out at theracketshow.com to submit suggestions for topics or guests that you would like to hear.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.